It is repetition which makes for perfection.
I'm going to talk to you guys about a project that I'm going to be providing a cover for. It's something kind of near and dear to my heart, not because of something I created per se, but it is our son Lucas, who has created his first comic. I have it here, Wallow, and it's got like two different covers, and then there's like a smaller edition. But essentially, you can see it here. It's something that he's written and drawn himself. It's very manga inspired, and I'm providing a variant cover. So I'm going to start the cover on stream. Obviously, I'm not going to finish in an hour. So this is kind of my way to show you the creative process, but also kind of plug this project and talk a little bit about it. Something exciting, and just in general, my thoughts about all this. You know, it's like the first kid in the family who has decided to kind of venture out into the comic book arts, as it were. And so I have a lot of thoughts and feelings and stuff around that. Obviously pride, and just very proud of him, first and foremost. But I think as a parent, you know, you have to sort of modulate kind of, and certainly in the position I'm in, it's kind of modulate kind of how you can help someone on their own creative, you know, aspirational journey. And I think in some ways, and I don't know how many parents are out there. He's going to be 24 this year in August, and you know, multi-talented kid. But I think the thing that, like, he's into acting, he's into gaming, he's into comics, and but the thing that kind of unifies all his interests, I think, is storytelling at the heart of it. And he's always kind of made up characters and told stories in funny accents and voices and stuff. So I'll lead with this, which was like someone comments was like, I can't remember exactly what they said, but it was something like, why the rich asking for money? And I put up a response, and then I deleted the whole thing. And it just struck me funny, because like there's this whole thing like nepotism, nepo babies, and all that. And you know, I'm not asking for money because I can fund the thing myself, but it's not my project. It's his project. And I think I use an analogy from like video games. Like if any of you guys have played MMOs where there's multiple players and they share space together. And if I've been in the world for a long time and you just start, I could easily kind of set you up as a twink or you know, twink. Yeah, you know, you can I don't know what the term is these days, but you can gift gold and items and really kind of set the character up so that they're like super powerful, you know, overpowered, you know, at level 1. But then I feel like it kind of ruins the game, you know, and if you guys have played any games, and when a game's too easy, you get bored, you lose interest in it. If a game's too hard, you feel defeated and you kind of give it up, right? So games have to find that sweet spot to keep people engaged, give them challenges, but allow them to achieve victory every now and then as they defeat bosses and gain levels, and that's very much, I think, an analogy for life, right? And if I was just asking for money, I get it. Criticism completely valid, but you are getting a comic. It's not like it's, I think the minimum tier on the Indiegogo is $10, and $10 you get 3 comics and a PDF, and I feel like for 3 comics that's a pretty fair price. So you know, I just wanted to address that. I don't think that's what we're doing, and I would feel and I would agree with someone if, like, hey, if I were sending my kid on a field trip and say, hey, fund this field trip for my kid, donate money for their airfare and their lunches. Like, yes, that would be reprehensible. I just would not ever do that. So I just want to kind of put that out there. But also, look, it puts me in a dilemma, like, because I could certainly make things easier. So, as a parent, you want to help, but at the same time, I don't want to ruin the game, right? And so I think I've been obviously offering advice and feedback to his ideas, both on a business level and a creative level. I feel like that's perfectly valid. But he did all the work and continues to do all the work. And in fact, he wanted to release this thing like a year ago after he'd just drawn a couple pages, right? And I know that feeling. And those of you who are creatives out there, you know that feeling too. It's like you're ready to go. You feel like you can do it. I can do it. No problem. Like the appetite exceeds sort of really what is realistic. And I told him, like, the chief obstacle, I think, that or the chief challenge that new creatives have when they start a project is they're super excited, right? The passion is there, but you got to do the work, and the work can be really sometimes laborious and take a lot of time. And drawing one page is easy. Maybe 5 pages is easy. Get to 10, 20, 100, you start to feel the burn, right? Like, anyone can sprint 10 feet. Most people can sprint 10 feet, 100, 1,000 feet, right? But run a mile, 10 miles, right? Like, and that's really what drawing comic books is like. I remember that feeling when I started. It's a grind. By the time you get to that 6th or 7th issue, you feel it. And you can't stop because you have a schedule. And I said, like, the thing you could do that really hurt yourself the most at the beginning is promise something and then not deliver, and then boom, you're out the gates as a professional comic book creator, and you're late on your first assignment, your first job. Like, that is the worst thing you can do. So trust me, I've been late on many projects, but I was on time at the start, at the beginning, right? For the first 5 or 6 years until I started Image, and then obviously all the business stuff got in the way, right? So you're going to try to self-publish, do the business stuff, and also write and draw. Like, you got to give yourself time to, like, relax and take a breather between issues. You got to take into account you might get injured, you might have family plans, etc., etc. All right, thing's called Wallow, and it's essentially a story about two young brothers whose parents are murdered. And they basically discover sort of a dark secret past, right? The sins of the father, the sins of the parents come to them. But it starts out very idyllically in that they live in a village on the outskirts of civilization. There's a reason for that. You don't know that at the beginning. So it starts off, they're celebrating a birthday, and they end up, the older kid ends up making a flute. Sort of a magical, or not magical, like a musical instrument out of a totem that the parents sort of hang in the trees all around the house. It feels very decorative. And little do they know that these totems are wards to sort of hide them, make them invisible from forces that they're hiding from, that they're fleeing from, or have fled from. And this thoughtful gesture opens the door to a dark force that basically, this is spoilers, right? So I should have given you the alert. But anyway, as you can see, it's not your typical superhero. In fact, it's not. It's a fantasy story, right? The closest analog would be a sort of anime manga. And if you look even at the cover, right, it's like a sword in the ground, the tree, and this one, looks like a magic ruin or device that's been broken open, right? So it's not in your face sort of traditional Western style comics. But then I'm going to do this cover, and so like, what am I going to do? All right. So as a movie poster, in the movie poster, you're going to traditionally see sort of some figure work here, and then larger imagery up here. And so I'm thinking down here, I am going to have in the foreground the kids, the two brothers. And it's going to be an upshot. And maybe they're looking off like, you know. So this really is a stream about composing a cover. And these kids don't have like a superhero build. They're you know, they look like kids. When I say kids, like, I think if I had to gather, one is 10-ish and the other one is like 18-ish. So it's really about composing a cover. And so in my head, I'm thinking it's these two kids. You know, it's not like giant size X-Men #1 where they're leaping forward. You know, it's two kids like looking forward. These trees that he has are kind of an interesting artistic aesthetic element that he kind of carries through. So I'm thinking about that. There's these evil forces that are sort of like, they look like shadows. They look like wraiths. They're 8 and 12. 8 and 12. Okay, I'm way off. All right. All right. So, okay. The dark forces, right? So since I have a larger figure here, the larger element's going to go sort of catty corner, right? In opposition as opposed to stacked on top. And plus visually, this is where I have that negative space, right? All right. And then I'm going to put the mother here. Again, spoiler alert, she's sort of a badass mage. But you think she and her spouse, her husband, are just sort of common villagers. And you see that maybe she's maybe been in some battle. And we can put her clawed-like hand there. Some sort of energy coming off of that. And then the pops will go down here. We'll go down here. But basically it starts off very idyllic, celebrating a kid's birthday. The removal of the ward allows the villagers' homestead to be seen by the forces of evil, and they come basically and attack. And then our two heroes find themselves orphaned and on the run. And you discover that there's a whole history behind them of how they ended up in this spot, sort of a secret destiny or past that is exposed, and a reason why sort of these dark forces are after them. So I'm trying to say it in a way so I don't completely give it away, but okay, and then I'm thinking like this villain has got his fingers like that. And because it's a sort of movie poster-like thing, you can put all these sort of elements that are harbingers or symbols of something that will be important in the story. And I think these ravens or these kind of birds are important, so maybe I'll put a couple of them there. although it looks like it's on his head. So, sort of a graphic design element that goes like this. And these are placeholders, right? Like the kids are just standing upright, erect. It just doesn't. It's static. I know they don't. I don't want them in superhero poses or like they're bending, like crouching, like ninjas. That's not the vibe they have. But I will introduce something in a second, which will humanize them more, show their relationship, I think, to one another is kind of in my head. But right now I'm just sort of laying out shapes, and this is kind of how I work. Okay, let's do this. Is there something? The elemental would go like this. And the designs are pretty simple. Like it's not New 52, you know, with all sorts of costume lines and detail. So this creature is probably the closest thing to like a Western comic book in terms of like a figure that. And then if I put that creature there, and I had put this ground here, I just lower the ground, and now I can put the kids here. And so they're a lot smaller. So in my head, I'm going, how do I make them pop more? And I think it would probably be in the coloring. Like they'll probably be warmer, and the background will be cooler, or they'll be more lit, and the background will be darker. So let's go ahead and construct the figures like this. It's an upshot like that. We'll continue with the upshot. Because I reduced them to size, I don't have to like necessarily do the sort of the. Now I want to do the larger figure on this side, basically, and it works because they're a lot smaller. But before, when the older brother was up here, this figure was. I don't even know how to express it mentally. You know, it's contrapositioning, counterbalance. That's it, counterbalance, right? But now that they're smaller, I don't have to counterbalance it as much. I don't have to worry about that element. Okay. So maybe sort of the paternal brother has his hand. Paternal. Yeah, he can be paternal. Like, he's a brother, but he feels like the father once the parents are killed, right? Right, you could have had now having his hand on that shoulder versus around holding him. Gonna have to weigh. They're like it's crazy, right? A hand on a shoulder versus the other shoulder imparts a different vibe, a different emotional feeling. So think about it. Right? This is almost like you're gonna allow some freedom, some independence, but you're also watching and guiding them. Around the other shoulder is more protective, more sheltering, more pulling in. It conveys a lot more emotion. But I'm wondering, I kind of like this more right now. I can always change it. And let's bring up the waist here, because it is an upshot. All right, so that's the eye line. That's the mouth, the nose. All right, mouth, eye line, ears are lower on the head. And right, that's like if they could shoot beams out of their eyes, it would go like this, right? And I like this creature because it it shows, all right, so you got the young heroes at the center. They look vulnerable. They are searching, literally searching with their eyes, right? That's the emotion that we're conveying. Immediately behind them, you have this horrific monster creature threatening, looming over them, threatening them physically. Sort of like an alien from that movie. Debating whether I draw the legs. I put one knee here, one over here, because he could easily disappear into that shape. And then, because the whole environment is in this sort of hamlet, this little, hamlet's a village, I guess. It's more like a little farm. It's a little cabin. It's a cabin in the middle of the woods. So I want to show that greenery, right? A grove. There we go. A grove. All right, so here's the grove. Now, this peaceful oasis is destroyed by sort of these wraith-like creatures. So let's go ahead and draw in the cabin, which I think I have a reference. And look, this is really funny. I told Lucas this, like when you start, because it's your first project, by the time you finish it or get into like 4 issues, your style is going to change. And it's already really interesting because he's working on issue 5, 4, 5, something like that. And it's already changed, right? The proportions, the energy, because he's learning. I mean, when you first start, you think, you're really good. And I'm just telling you, like everyone thinks they're amazing when they start. And 2, they think like, I got it all figured out. And the truth is, as you do more and more work, you discover, well, I thought I was good, but this is better. So what does that make what I did originally, right? So it's kind of like when I started on Alpha Flight, I thought it was pretty good. I thought I was like channeling John Byrne and really just, this is going to blow people away. And it didn't. It was, it was very rough. It was very, and it took probably until I got into Punisher, but then even the Punisher, I started inking myself, and it probably wasn't until Punisher issue 4 or 5, or 5 and 6, the one where I teamed up with Wolverine, where it kind of unlocked something. But even then, that wasn't kind of the style I got. Like, every year, after drawing 12 issues, 10 to 12 issues a year, the style, the confidence, the ability moved up, right? So I think those would be really interesting. I told him, like, by the time you finish or get near the end, you're going to want to go back and redraw all your first chapters. Anyway, so it starts off in this very, I think, more of a cartoony, almost like a kid's book style. It's pretty abstracted. I don't know if that's the right word, right? Like the and it draws, I think, heavily from like manga in terms of like how smoke and energy and movement is conveyed versus like a Western comic. And then by the time you get to the 3rd issue, right, you're already seeing more exaggeration, more power in the composition, the perspective, things like that. But it is very imaginative. There's like a whole world that he has created, and look at all these like random like creatures. Like it's there's a lot there, and I know there's a lot more. Right? He's got it all. Like there's a lot going on, and I'm gonna probably put some of that back here. But it's like a little grass. It's like a little hut with a grass roof. He probably would object, but I think all the designs are kind of cute, which is great because it's a nice juxtapositioning against these more sort of horrific images that are kind of nightmarish, right? So here's like essentially their cabin, but it's been attacked, and so now it's kind of in shambles, like, all right, and maybe it's on fire. Okay. See that? And then that'll give me sort of the warm light on this side that will make these figures pop. And then everything will be kind of cooler and more blue here. And then over here, I think I want to put, there's another horrific, it's almost like a two-faced creature, like right here. So that's the beak nose of that one. That one. So what's cool about doing a cover like this is for the first issue, a lot of these elements aren't in the first issue. The whole idea is it's a hook, right? It's a teaser. And then by putting this here, maybe the arm, like there's a bunch of arms, like and maybe the hand kind of like they're really strange looking creatures, right? So the idea is it's like it's doing this kind of thing. Can I? Yes. Okay, you can see it. Right? And so that's the ground. Maybe I put it here in the extreme foreground. It looks like a rock, right? But what's cool about it is that it's a subtle thing. Okay. Okay. It's got like a suspender. Like everything is really there's a lot of world building, like down to the fashion, to the designs of the monsters and stuff. I don't know if I'll give them a fishing pole. It kind of starts off with them fishing. I don't think the fishing is a big element in the story. You know. Maybe he's got his arm behind his back like that. Alright, see what I'm saying? Because he's a little kid. What do little kids do with their hands? They pick their nose or whatever. I mean, right? I mean, you can have this giant like machine gun right here. Sorry, that's not in the story. Right now, Lucas is, what are you doing? He wouldn't have his arms crossed, right? He's not confident. Perfecto. Walking stick isn't going to scare anyone, but it does convey this emotion of an explorer, a traveler, right? Someone who needs assistance, right? Makes him like a walking stick has a lot of, implies a lot of things. All those things I just mentioned. Does he have both hands on the walking stick? Maybe he does. Like, look. There's one hand. So he probably looks a little more confident than he does in the series, but this is it's a sneak peek. I would assume that as they travel, both their sort of abilities and confidence grow. Okay, see that? Got the two figures here, the main figures here, characters here. Their names are, I forgot, Grimm and Lou. Correct? Yes. I've read the comic many times, but I just trying to, the names escape me at this moment. Yeah, Lou and Grimm, yes. Right? And then you've got this two-faced abomination here, this sort of it's a family-friendly stream, so it's a orifice hole type creature there. We got the father down here, and he's a badass sort of mage too. But I think the mom is even crazy more powerful, and because she's the one that, I don't want to give it away, but she's the one that the power runs through her side of the family. Am I right, Lou Grimm? The mom is the head honcho, right? And they were trying to escape their past, right? They were part of something that was not ideal. Maybe it got corrupted. They were trying to, like many of us, trying to escape our past, and they basically found refuge in in the grove, sort of away from civilization. They protected themselves with these runes, these warding runes that basically sort of cast invisibility onto them. Their son, Grimm, sort of accidentally took down the protective field to make a gift, using one of the totems as a gift for his brother on his birthday, and then that kind of opened the door to these dark wraiths, these reapers to come. So that's what the first. Yeah, we'll do an audio book. No, you know what? Luke would do an amazing audio book reading of it, because he does little voices. I shouldn't say little. He does these cool voices, and they're quite entertaining. As you might have seen on my Instagram feed, he did like a. He was doing this British voice, and I think a lot of people on social thought he was British for a long time because he had his own account that was just very separate. But anyway, so the mother shot here, it's going to be more of an upshot. Like, this is the down shot of the father. So I'm going to twist this. So these are the kind of refinements that you make. It's kind of like, it's more of a moment of desperation, like. And she's got her hair in a mess, cuts on her face. She has that look of like, oh my God, like, and there's going to be all sorts of crazy energy coming off of here. And then you have this sort of wraith, this dark figure, and these crows over here. And you can see kind of from this playful, Joker-esque smile that they delight in their evilness, so to speak. And this isn't even the main villain, but I think visually it just looks kind of cool to have here. And then even the style that I'm drawing, I'm like, in my head I'm thinking Joe Mad, because Joe Mad to me is like the guy, he kind of bridged Western style art with Eastern, manga art. I don't know if that's what I'm going to do it in, but I'm thinking of that kind of chunky style. And then also, just FYI, for those who support it, the fourth issue on, it's in black and white, right? So it looks more like traditional manga, but it reads left to right. So that's kind of what I've got. And so in future streams, I am going to do more of this. I did want to challenge you guys with one thing. So Luke and I were kind of talking right before the stream, like what can we do to kind of engage you guys, draw you in even more into this project. on the Discord channel, and if those of you that are new, we actually have a Discord channel that is linked to this stream, and that's where people get updates on when the next streams are going to be, and appearances, and there's just general chatter, conversation. I will post up sneak peeks about art, of my art, even before I put on Instagram. Some stuff I put on Discord that never even makes it to Instagram. And we're talking about, like, it would be cool if you guys wanted to do your own fan art of Wallow. There is, in the Discord channel, there's a channel that is appropriate for links or for uploading your art, and then Luke and I will go through the work that you guys put up and pick one and publish it in the book. You'll be paid a nominal fee, but I thought it might be kind of fun for some of you who are aspiring artists that want to get your work kind of seen more broadly, to include that in there. And I know there are some others that Luke has found through his own Instagram feed that will be included in that.